for that.
I know, I understand completely. I just, but also I just want you to know that I want to be, I'm trying to even think of the word for it. I want to be conscientious,
yeah,
and responsible and very honest with you and make you feel comfortable with this. So I'm letting you know how it works. Now I'm going to turn it this way. Let's see. Let me see what happens. So here, right now I've got like just, I'm just recording you from about here up.
okay.
So I'm not actually recording your hands right now, but the camera may change or you may move or something, and then it could, you know, different.
Yeah, because I might not be able to keep still sometimes.
And that's okay, because what I'm interested in talking about is, now are you comfortable in terms of how much light is in the room, or
Yeah.
it's not too much, not too little?
It's okay for now, yeah.
Okay.
See, it is okay for now, yeah, this be so.
Okay, because if it's not, you just tell me and we'll fix it whatever way we need to. But what I wanted to do was talk some about, I'm going to ask you or talk with you about some things that you've actually told me about, but just that we didn't record. And I want to be able to explain to people like my sister and Dove. And like one of the things you were telling me, I mean, like if I ask you a question and you think, gosh, we already talked about this, it's more so that they can understand.
Yeah, it's okay.
Because it was like I had a kind of a supernatural experience today with suddenly looking around and being aware of all these efforts people were making to talk that I just didn't realize in the past. And it was suddenly like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, like all these people are actually working through talking.
They're all like trying. You can see them moving their faces, or when they squeal at a certain time and stuff. I think a lot of people there realize that they are trying to communicate in that way. You know. And it's been the assumption for so long that this is just mindless stuff that they're doing, and that there's no
intention.
Yeah. I mean, we have their impulses, but there's intention in what we want to do that's stuck behind the impulses there and stuff in this. But it's like the dolphin in our homeschool group with the kids that grow and learn with her, and they say she's communicating with them, and they know what she wants and when she wants it, and when she's saying yes or no or this kind of stuff. And sometimes their parents think it's cute that the kids think she's communicating with them. And they are. They are, you know, but with them, they just kind of, they haven't been programmed to think in a certain way.
Or to doubt.
Yeah, they
don't know that.
Well, it's not so much doubt. It's when somebody says, this is how things are, and these are what this means, this is what that means. Now, if there's no one really defining things as this is what this is and this is what that is, and then there's no one telling them anything. They are making their own deductions, so they're more open to things. Say someone else is like, oh, she's just babbling, then the child that person is like an authority figure, like a mom, and they think that mom and dad know everything. So if mom and dad say that she's just babbling, then it's like then that those children will be like, she's just like babbling, and they will believe that. If the parents don't say something like this, they could really say, what does this mean? What is happening? And that's why, like, many children that grow in and the Dolphins homeschool group communicate with her without a problem.
But when you were a kid, when did you say you started talking at 9, but when did you start trying to talk? Ever since you can remember?
I think when I was younger, I didn't have much interest in my environment because it was sort of confusing and painful. So I spent a large amount of time just trying to block out my environment, not sort it through much.
Well, what was painful in it? Like sounds or light?
I couldn't figure out what was happening visually, auditorily, texture-wise, everything that was happening. It's the trying to sort out that movement and that sound as being my mom or that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The movements are these blurs, and the sounds, you didn't know where everything was confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it was near living through a nightmare that didn't seem to end,
Mm-hmm.
or something. And I guess it could be described as maybe a drug person on drugs had going through a bad trip or something. But like you just have, it's like.
But for me, and I'm just a typical person, so how for me, if it's like this all the time, why wouldn't it just seem normal? If that's all you knew.
Because you couldn't really sort out what was happening in your environment.
Mm-hmm.
And if you couldn't really sort out what was happening in your environment, then you didn't know where your place in it, or what was that. You don't even, you won't know whether that's just a chair there or not, or or if something's going to hurt you or not, because you couldn't make a prediction of you could get lost in your own living room.
Mm-hmm.
Because of if you can't sort out your environment, then you don't. It's like you don't know where you're at any given time or what's going to happen to you, and so it's almost so you spent all this time just shutting it out, that it takes a longer time to sort through things little by little, and that takes time. So after a while you start making sense of what's going on around you, and then that could take like a couple of years, and then you could spend another 5-10 years sorting out your place in your environment and what this means. It could take a couple more years before you decide where you spent so much time blocked off a little bit that it's like another leap to throw yourself in there.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got so used to things. And then afterwards, the environment isn't like as frightening as before,
Mm-hmm.
but you're kind of almost stuck, like watching it like TV people's.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, people have regarded you kind of like like TV people. They don't acknowledge you.
Mm-hmm.
And
they're just up on a screen.
Exactly, but then after a while, that's how things. That's your environment after a while, where you have as much real participatory contact with the world as that. I mean, it's nearly not their fault, and it's nearly almost not your fault, because you shut,
to protect yourself, you shut the dog out.
Yeah, you did it for a long time, but then after a while, when things start settling down a little bit, or you get used to stuff, and you start realizing what this is and that is, and you start trying to do things to adapt or adjust. Everybody learns and adjusts, and or tries to anyhow, as best they can, I think. So it takes time. everything takes time. And
When you were a kid, did you pretty much stay in the same place, or did you travel a lot?
I stayed in the same place a lot, and I had always a hard time if I went like to school or something. And if I went anywhere, I was like attached to my grandmother or my mother, and I had to always be there, like I had to be next to them. And I would, if that kind of thing. But then, and I would get lost easily because I would get absorbed in some detail or something that I would lose them so easily. I find something underneath the table or something. Then everything derails so quickly. Um, that's the only thing is just that you could make sense of something for a while, but then it could just so easily in an instant everything derails, and then you're back in the nightmare again.
And the nightmare is where you're shutting everything out.
And the nightmare is where you can't make sense of anything.
You don't know what you're seeing.
You don't know what you're seeing or feeling or hearing or that kind of thing. You don't even, that's overwhelming. And and then I would have like fight, or people would come, if I would panic, and then if people came near me, say even my mom, I would lash out because I wouldn't recognize her as my mom in that instant. And that's a pretty bad meltdown because I hurt my mom before she miscarried because of me at one time because I kicked her and she miscarried, and my father said I was an animal and that they had to put me away. And it's not like I meant to do it, just she was trying to, I couldn't make her out between something. I just saw that I felt cornered by something, and everything was, I couldn't sort her out from anything. And I didn't even know what happened until years later. My sister told me that I just was upset because for a while there she wasn't around, and I was upset that she wasn't around. Then I found out afterwards that I had kicked her or something. She ended up in the hospital, so I almost killed her. And then you end up 6 months later feeling all guilty for something you didn't even realize you did at that time.
And when you were around 9, was that when you, like 8 or 9, was that when you began to be able to hear or sort things out more?
No, I started to sort things out before then. So I was like, when things weren't like going overwhelming, I was piecing everything together, like this is that, this is this is that, this all this you're just watching everything through like television people. But then there are things like I wanted, like you wanted to participate or something. You start wanting to make an input into what's going on. You're interested in the environment and you're collecting information, but sometimes your environment affects you, and then you want to make a decision on that. If your environment affects you, you want some input or at least some dissent. Like when if they treat you bad. I remember I was like a therapist, and I said, I think I said, "Alone, leave me," was my first words with her, and that surprised because I was basically telling her I wanted her to leave me alone, and I sort of knew that it would continue unless I said something, and it just popped out almost and stuff. Then it couldn't come out again, like, and then I became like obsessed. because I said that came out, and it surprised me more than it did her, because it was like my voice saying something other than just squealing or squawking or that kind of thing. You know.
Were you thinking in words inside your head?
Oh, I had words in my head for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
They
wouldn't come out.
Yeah, I don't think I was all that connected to my body as much. You know, if I'm sitting underneath the table listening to a conversation between my grandmother and my mother, I don't really know I'm underneath the table. I'm so entranced with what they're saying that I don't know where I'm at. I'm actually focused, memorizing what they're saying and all into that. So it's like I'm floating around myself almost. So it's like I could remember their conversation, and I would be, where was I? And then it would just occur to me, oh, I was under the table. But that's how, you become almost disconnected from yourself or disassociated from yourself, kind of. And all into things.
So this thing about, how was it, alone leave me, or?
Yeah, it was, I said, alone leave me, when I wanted the therapist to leave me alone. This be so, yeah.
And it came out when you had some very strong feelings about needing some space.
Well, she was hurting me for one thing, and it was actually, I was feeling it, and it was bothering me. It was, the environment bothers you enough, you want to fight back, but instead of fighting her, I said that because I realized the more I fought back, the more people are bigger than me. So it was almost pointless to fight back. But it was some words aren't really ignored as much. Like you figure this out through observation. Somebody says something like, turn off the TV. Somebody turns off the TV. Or, that is, mom asked my brother, he says, I want cereal or pancakes, and he says, I want cereal, and he gets cereal. It's like magic, like words. And I already knew, if I could kick and scream and bite, all that leads me was having a therapist tie me up in the chair and whatnot. So that wasn't going to stop things from happening. In fact, from experience, it just made things worse. But I just didn't know how. I didn't even. It was funny because I just thought about it. I wanted her to leave me alone, and then it came out, alone, leave me. And it surprised me more than it surprised her, because I didn't know where that voice came from. And I took like 10 or 15 minutes before I realized it came from me. And then it became obsession, because for the longest time I figured out I couldn't talk, and I heard, and this was basically verified by everyone, because he said she can't talk, then so my mom will make decisions for me or things like that, because I couldn't talk or whatnot. So it was like accepted. I accept, you own it. So but once I realized that this be like not so, once I figured out that those words came from me, I was like obsessed.
And when you say obsessed, was it that you?
It was like what they would call the preservation, where you every like you wake up in the morning and your focus, and it's all day long and till where you go to sleep, even to the point where you can't sleep because you're thinking about how to do it again, and you almost even dream about it. In fact, when you wake up in the morning, you wake up where you're dreaming like you're talking, you know, and you're talking like people on TV, and you dream when you wake up, and then you wake up in the morning almost like I can't talk, and then you're so shocked and pissed because you still can't, and then it's like you're doing.
What would happen if you tried to talk, and what did you start to try to do instead?
I did wheels, like what she's doing there. You know, that's she's looking at herself in the mirror. The dolphin is looking at herself in the mirror, and you see the sound she's making. That's what I did, and the you know, you're like, and and you're driving people crazy because you're doing all this, and and you're working.
And sometimes a high pitched sound is coming out.
Yeah, because you're trying to get and then you get like you start using that, and you trying to you want to say something like beautiful and clear, and then it just comes out like a train wreck, and sometimes literally it's like, oh, and so she thinks it's funny now. Like I did what she's doing, like she's trying to talk, and now she want to get into conversation too, but that's what she was doing. She's in the mirror looking at herself talking, and she's babbling, and you are kind of talking because you're thinking about what you're saying, and you're practicing in front of the mirror what you're saying. It's just coming out all wrong, and you're just trying to figure out like why.
So what did you start to figure out that you could do so that it would not just come out like as a high-pitched whoop or something?
I looked at the TV people talking.
That's right, you said that.
But the TV people talking, it looks different than regular people. Like you could watch TV and that stuff, and you could look at. And I figured I had to look at people.
And what part of the person were there some parts of a person that would be important to look at? Like the mouth or?
The mouth. I was looking at the mouth. I started looking at the mouth a lot because I that's when I started looking, because I figured out I had to figure out where the sounds were coming from, because I really didn't look at people's faces because they're ugly. I mean, I don't mean
too overwhelming.
I don't know. Faces are weird.
Because I noticed even with me, you would always check my name tag, not my face.
Because that's how I don't look at their faces.
If you didn't hear my voice or anything, if I was just still and quiet and wasn't wearing a name tag, would it be hard to know it was me?
Yes, it would.
So looking into my face and my mouth and eyes and things,
I would recognize your shoes.
Yeah, because you saw my shoes had changed color.
Yeah, I always look at the people's shoes and their feet, but you can't recognize people with their shoes, because if they change their shoes, then they're not who they are anymore.
Or if someone else has the same shoes.
And that has happened because I got lost one time because I was following my mom's feet, and then there was a woman with the same shoes, and I ended up following the woman, and then it turned out she wasn't my mom, and that was very, that was very, where was I this? Okay, my brain farted.
You were following these shoes, and it turned out they weren't your mother's, and you got lost.
So I look at people's feet a lot, and I did that. And
so now there was this connection for you that you would have to look at their mouths?
Yes, that's when I started looking at their faces, as horrible and uncomfortable as that is.
And why would it be, and I'm just asking because I just don't know the answer at all, why would feet be any worse or nicer than a face?
I don't know.
That's just how it is.
I don't know. They like move and they click, and I don't know. I look at the shoes a lot. I don't know, and I didn't, and for a long time I don't look at the faces. So it was when I made a conscious decision to imitate people that I had to look at their faces, and I look more in their mouth a lot.
Was it easier to look at their face if you only looked at one part than if you tried to look all over their face? I mean, like if you only look at their mouth instead of looking at their nose, eyes, cheeks?
Well, I could look at a nose, I could look at a mouth. I can't do it all at the same time.
So the focus is... I
only see parts. If I see the mouth, I only see the mouth. I don't see nothing else but the mouth. So I looked at that part of the face because that's where the sounds were coming from. You know, and I know it sounds crazy, but you have to, it's in the direction of where it is, so you almost look at the face and you're staring at the face, because it's maybe silly to you almost. I find it silly now, because now that I know that sounds come from the mouth, you know, I think I was already like 9 before I realized this. I don't know. It took a while, because if you don't look at people's faces, you don't know if the sound's coming from the ear or the hair or spilling out of the eyes or anything, and stuff.
So here you had an experience with the sound coming out of your mouth, and now you were starting to look at other people's mouths.
But that's the thing, I didn't even know where it came out of from me. It just popped out, and it happened so fast that I didn't even realize it came out of like here, you know, all that. But that's when I figured out that it was coming out of the mouth. Then I was staring at people's mouth all the time, and I was mouthing like they were mouthing, like, and I was doing all, you know, like if they moved their mouth a ways, I moved my mouth a ways, and
would you check that then in the mirror?
All the time, this be so I would practice in the mirror, and I would look at the person, and then I would run to the mirror and look. Like my sister used to talk to herself in front of the mirror, so I would stand behind her and like do the same movements. But I was dissatisfied because I was making all this, but the sounds weren't coming out. Still no.
Just moving.
Yeah, took some time to make all this, it was like I could do one or two things, like squeal, or mouth. And it took some time before I could make them go together. And because if you don't move them, like like I couldn't make consonant sounds, like the consonants, like CONSON. Yeah,
It beeped, it says record, and all of a sudden all the seconds and numbers are changing.
Wow.
So that's how you know it's on. I'm just saying, so then if I have the whole machine on but it's not recording, this is what, like if I turn it off for recording, it's recording right now.